Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Realtor Mindset. We have a special edition today where I'm sitting here with our bank attorney for the DeMella team at East Coast Finance, Ryan Walsh Esq of Walsh and Gilad. And we're going to talk extensively about the Stitzer-Burnett lawsuit. Ryan, why don't you welcome to the show?
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Why don't you share with the audience a little bit about who you are, what you do?
Great. Yeah, thank you, guys. So my name is Ryan Walsh. I am a real estate attorney with the law firm of Walsh and Gilad. Our firm does represent buyers, sellers, and lenders throughout New York and New Jersey. We do residential, commercial, and landlord-tenant. So we're a full-service real estate law firm here in Queens, and we have offices in Long Island, Peekskill, and the like. And we're really proud to get to work with this gentleman next to us. He's been a really good partner to work with in the past years, and we do appreciate him and his company and getting to work with him. And I appreciate being on the show today.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate you having you, and I appreciate your partnership. So let's get right into it. The Stitzer-Burnett lawsuit. First off, we're talking about listing agents and buyer's agents and buyer's agents commissions. So, my first question is, do buyers need to pay the buyer's agent commissions out of pocket?
Per the settlement, right, which is going to start in July, the answer is maybe, right? Possibly. So what I read is that the commission is no longer going to be put on MLS. So in the past, the listing agent would put on MLS if there was a 6% commission, and say 3 of that would go to the buyer, the buyer's broker, right?
Right.
Now you're not allowed to put the commission on MLS, but you are allowed to put it on your own personal website, your company's website, and you can break it up. So if you're a listing agent, you can still pay the buyer's agent a commission, right? It's like status quo, right? Or if you're a strong listing agent and you choose not to tell anybody what you're making or not share, you could tell the buyer's agent to go fly a kite and get it from the buyer directly, right? And then that opens up a can of, worms, because now as the buyer's agent, if I'm going to show the property to a buyer, I have to have them sign a buyer broker agreement.
Gotcha.
Right? And then I have to explain to them why, my services are worth 1%, 2%, right? Or X percent. And that's hard. It's hard to do when traditionally the buyer never came out of pocket, right? In the past, right? They never came out of pocket. I've heard that some buyer agents may want to do a flat fee, right, versus a percentage, right? And I think it's going to be, like I said, tough, because if you're a buyer and you can go on Zillow or Trulia and see the properties and make a call, right? The buyer's agent has to show why they have value.
Right.
Will they get the property price down? I don't know. Right. If the property's hot, probably not. But if the property's not hot, maybe. So I think it's going to be a interesting time for the next 6 months or more, just to see how it plays out. Will everyone play together in the sandbox nicely, or will they say it's everyone from themselves?
Right. That's to be determined.
Right.
But what I'm understanding from you, and thank you for sharing, is that so the listing agent cannot put buyer's agents' compensations on the multiple listing system. However, they can put it on their own website. That's one thing. And the second thing is any buyer that goes out with a buyer's agent, they do need to sign a buyer's agent commission statement or commission agreement, based upon, hey, if I don't get any commission from the listing agent representing you as a buyer's agent, this is what my firm charges. Please sign here, and we'll settle up at the closing table.
That's true. Yeah.
And number 3, there could be some instances where, hey, a listing agent would basically just take everything and not compensate any buyer's agent. So that's another ball of wax that may be present in the industry. Absolutely.
Yeah, it could.
Cool. So next question: are sellers still allowed to pay the commission to the buyer's broker?
Yeah, my understanding is that they just can't evidence the splits on MLS, but they can still split the commission with the buyer's agent.
Gotcha.
My thought was if no one knows how much the listing agent's making, right? Because it's no longer on MLS, then the listing agent could say, I'm not really making anything, even though they're making 6%, or they could just decide, you know what, there are new rules and we're not going to share.
Gotcha.
Right? We're not going to split it. So it'll be a little bit interesting. But I think also what's important is if the buyer broker, if the buyer is going to pay the agent to be the buyer broker, then they have to come to you first to determine whether or not they can afford it.
Right.
Because it's an added closing cost that they didn't have previously. So a lot of people may not be able to afford that buyer broker fee, right? Particularly if they're working families.
Yeah, absolutely. And most of the buyers that come to us on the DeMello team at East Coast Capital are 5 or 10%. In some cases, as little as 3 or 3.5% down. So an extra 2% out of pocket it could blow the deal. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next question: is this lawsuit over?
I think the National Association of Realtor has settled, right? And they were a major defendant, but there are other defendants that haven't decided to settle, and that will still play out. But I think because NAR has 1 million, plus, members, I think this is the real, crux.
Right.
This is going to be the settlement that really changes the dynamics of the landscape for the next 6 months or so. If somebody else wins, then maybe it goes back to normal, but I don't see that happening.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Real interesting stuff. So basically, in summary, how do you see this affecting the market overall? Buyers, sellers, buyers agents, sellers agents. How do you see this affecting?
I think it can go various ways, right? The buyers and the listing agents and the buyer brokers could just play nice like they've always done, right? And just keep the status quo. Or the listing agents could say, we're not going to share any of our listing, fees with you, and you have to get it from the buyer. And then the buyer's agent is going to have to figure out a way to get paid, right? Whether a flat rate or that, that percentage. And do a lot of buyers agents feel comfortable asking the buyer for money? I spoke to a buyer today about it, and they said I wouldn't pay. So it's I think there's always going to be a group of buyers that will not want to pay.
Right.
There's always going to be a group of buyers that want to pay because they don't feel they can negotiate with the listing agent or the seller directly.
Right.
And then there's some people in the middle that, depending on the circumstance.
Right.
But I think the issue is the people who want to pay, can they afford to pay?
Interesting.
Right? And then that will be like the determining factor in a lot of these transactions. Right?
Interesting times, as the expression goes.
100%.
May you live in interesting times. So I can personally vouch for Ryan. His firm is absolutely amazing. They do a majority of the closings for the DeMello team at East Coast Capital. He could represent buyers, sellers. If you're an agent, please reach out to Ryan. I'll leave all of his contact information in the comments below. Anything else you want to add, Ryan?
No, I just want to say thank you for your time, letting me be on your podcast, and appreciate your friendship.
No, likewise. Thanks so much, Ryan. Thank you all. Love you all. To be continued. We're going to be doing updates every month about this case, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.
Thank you.